So I'm outside doing a video today because it's one of the last nice summer days I think we're going to have where it's actually hot. It's going to get cool after this, so forgive the road noise and the airplanes going overhead and all that stuff. I want to talk about the shoe game and what its purpose is. I did one last night, and I don't normally do this by default. I do it per client request. So if they want it, I'll do it for them, but I never suggest that they do it. I made a list of shoe game questions, based on some questions I read online. I kind of customized them so they rolled off the tongue a little better. But last night I was doing a Mormon wedding at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I really felt like I needed to clean up my questions a little bit. I did a video on this day before yesterday. So I'm going to read you the questions that I decided to use at last night's wedding, and I'm going to tell you some edits I did on the fly. Some of the questions I eliminated were things that, they probably shouldn't have knowledge of, like who hogs the covers, who snores the loudest, who takes the longest showers, who gets up first in the morning. I got rid of those or reworded them. And I'll tell you what my questions are. Who talks the most? Who's more organized? Who's a better cook? Who leaves the dishes piled up in the sink? Who takes more time to get ready? Was my edit. The original question was, who takes more time to get ready in the morning? Again, maybe Mormons shouldn't have knowledge of this, or if they do, perhaps their audience doesn't need to know that they have knowledge of this. So I reworded this question on the fly as, who takes more time to get ready for date night? I thought that was safe. Who's a better driver? Who's more stubborn? Who's the biggest clean freak? Which one of you is the night owl? That's reworded from who stays up the latest? And who's the early bird, which is a rewording of who gets up first in the morning? Who spends more time staring at their phone? That's a pretty universal question. I think it's safe to ask anybody. Who's a better dancer? Who's the boss? Who's more adventurous? Who tells the best jokes? And here are the last two that I did make on the fly edits of. Who made the first move? I changed that one to who said I love you first? And this last question that I hear a lot of DJs ask as their last question, worded very similar to this, is who do you love the most right now? I will confess to not being the most religious person that you've ever met, but what I do know is that you're supposed to put God first, right? So being in the church and being a rather, conservative social church the way they are, I guess that's how you say it. I don't know how you'd say it. They're Mormon. They've got rules. I changed it to, what person do you love the most right now? So it was less of a loaded question. And I got a friend who's Mormon, and I called him and I said, hey, am I overthinking some of these edits? And he said, no. I think they'd really appreciate it that you do this. I talked to somebody else who was talking about some of my original questions that I had, like who snores the loudest and who hugs the covers and things like that. And he said, I would be uncomfortable asking those questions of any audience. And I'll give you that they might be personal and risque. But I have to ask myself, what's the purpose of the shoe game? Is it a quiz? Yeah, but in essence, I believe the shoe game is a comedy bit. And the thing about jokes and joke structure is, there's something about the joke that has to be way out here in left field. And I think ultimately, when you're telling any joke, you're supposed to take it right to the edge, right to the line. Now, a more risque comic will go over the line, which is over the top sometimes, which I don't want to do. But I think you need to at least go up to the line. Perhaps not cross it, but at least go up to it. If you don't do that, it's a lot less funny. Someone else has said, I didn't realize that DJs write these questions. Usually, my customer will give me a list of questions that they would like me to ask. There are shoe game questions all over the internet. If you go on some of these wedding websites, they've got pages and pages of these. I don't think they're worded very well. And I have looked at them just to kind of get ideas, but I have written my own questions. And I've worded them in a way that kind of rolls off the tongue a lot better than some of them that I've read. But if the purpose of the shoe game is a comedy bit, I feel like a big part of the comedy is the surprise questions. If you already know the questions, you've already kind of thought of what the answers might be and how to answer them. If you've never heard the questions before, they're a surprise. You're on the spot and you must answer them. And the way you answer them and the hesitation you have before you answer them and those kind of things are a huge part of what makes it funny. If it's rehearsed, I don't know if it's that funny. So, I don't know, if you're going to do it, why not do it right? You know? Go for it. Make it a comedy bit. I did a great job on the pacing of the shoe game last night. And there's 17 questions on here. And like I said, I don't always do this. I only do it if it's requested, but I did it to the song Oh Yeah by Yellow. You may know it from the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I timed it perfect. So I was getting a response from the last question as the song was fading out. And then we immediately went into the first dance. So I allowed for a few things, by the way. And it was all spontaneous on the fly. Certain things I'll allow for are audience responses. When you watch a comedian tell jokes, when they tell a joke and there's a punchline and people laugh, they don't interrupt the audience with another joke. They freeze in the moment and they wait for the laughter to subside. Maybe not completely end, sometimes perhaps, but you don't interrupt the audience's laughter to tell the next joke. You let it breathe. So as they're struggling to find the answer to a question, and as the audience is laughing and the laughter builds, let that laughter happen. Let it build. That's funny. And that's pacing. And that's, I think, a real key element of being a successful MC is understanding your pacing and understanding moments where you need to let things breathe. And this is just one of those things. And I think it went real well. And next time I do it, the shoe game, I'll do a much better job at it, I think. And, although, this list that I made with edits on the fly was for a very religious conservative audience, very young bride and groom, by the way. I think when you put these questions together, which I think you should do as the DJ and word them in a way that sounds natural for you to say them, I think you need to tailor to the audience that's in front of you. So the Mormon audience, yeah, we want them tame and safe. But if I'm doing an audience that's perhaps a lot more liberal, and maybe they're not religious, and maybe they're a little more edgy, the questions I feel should reflect that to make it funny. And again, you don't want to cross the line or go over the top, but I think in this case, what makes it the most effective is going up to that line and almost seeing the discomfort that the bride and groom have in answering it. You may say, well, I never want to make a bride or groom uncomfortable. Then don't do something like this. I don't think it serves its purpose if it's safe. I think it serves its purpose best if there's some stuff on there that makes people squirm a little bit. Not the audience, but the couple. That's the funny part. But that's my philosophy on it. You may have a very different one, and if you do, that's fine. Let us know what it is in the comment section. So, that's it. Just a couple thoughts on the shoe game, or how I'm doing it, or what I feel like the purpose of it is. If you feel differently about it, let me know about that in the comment section. We'll see you next time. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for enjoying this beautiful day with me. Practice and enjoy. I think this might be one of our last hot summer days. and I want to enjoy it. Plus, inside the air conditioner is so loud, can't hear videos anyway. There's an airplane going over the house. It's loud out here today. The jet passes, I can actually do this video. Noise is crazy around here.